So this is my unpopular opinion, and like, I don't want to be canceled. This is just my take. Like, if you disagree with me, just keep it pushing. Like, I don't want to like be caught up in the sauce, right? But I think that at the core of gun violence, it's something that people aren't really talking about. Like, I hear one side guns, and one side mental health. And I think that there's truth on both sides, but I think that if we were to remove like the confounding variable of just the weapon of guns, I think that we would still have an issue at its core, because I think at the core the issue is that we are raising children in a very paradoxical way, right? So in a society, the way this is society, not saying it's right, not saying it's wrong, just saying this is how we raise children in society for the most part. If you look at what people want, who want traditional gender roles, this is how they raise their children. Whereas the son, the first 18 years of his life, like, people are like, daughters are harder to raise, so they're on their daughters about their grades, they're on their daughters about going out, they're on their daughters about like a curfew, they're on their daughters, right? About like being a good girl, being a good person, and because they don't want her to get pregnant, right? Whereas boys, they have more frivolous, like, oh, boys are easy to raise, like, it'll all work out for a guy in the end, right? So then they're not on them about their grades, they're not on them about like what they should be doing. Like, the mom will like not really teach the boy how to house make or home make, or like, for example, like when I went to college, like, a lot of the boys didn't know how to do laundry. Their parents just dropped them off and they did not know how to do laundry because the boys have been doing their laundry. Their parents have been doing their laundry their whole life. Whereas all the girls in the hall knew to do their laundry. Like, I'm not even joking. Very minimal boys knew how to do their laundry. All the girls know how to do their laundry. All the girls know how to make dinner and like make and cook food. A lot of the boys relied on only the food plan. They did not know how to make food. They did not know how to cook. They never set foot in the kitchen. So we have this society that's teaching boys kind of like, someone's going to take care of you, someone's going to take care of you, someone's going to take care of you, right? And then they're sent at 18 into this pressure cooker of a society where it's like, oh, you need to be the high performer, you need to be the person leading the household, you need to be the head of the house, like the head on like the, you know, the woman's a swivel and the man's a head, right? And you need to be a decision maker, and you need to know how to do all this stuff, and you. So then you pressure cook them, and then you put in the fact of, also, you won't get a partner if you don't do all these things. When the society hasn't set them up to be good partners, so then when they don't get partners after 18, they're like, wait a second, I was promised that I would have a partner like similar to my mother that would do all the stuff that my mother did for me. But in society, you can't just get that. You don't just fall into that, because women have been raised to have this like traditionally elite value of school, education, performance, and all that stuff. So then we're looking for guys who match that same like vibe, but then guys weren't raised in the same society, but then you have the expectation of women to be submissive to the men that you didn't raise to be leaders. And then you get into like the whole like gender norms of like femininity and crying and all that stuff, whereas like men, like, there's no woman loneliness epidemic, because if I'm not in a relationship, I don't feel lonely because I have my friends. I have other girls I can talk to, which is why when you see girls who are like the quote unquote pick-me's, they will actually feel lonely when they're single. They will have like the loneliness and the isolation and like the wanting and the desire for a companion that runs a little bit deeper, because they don't have that full circle of feminine relationships. Whereas men, if you ask them when their best friend's birthday, they don't know. If you ask them like any facts about like oh, when did your best friend get divorced? Like, why did they get divorced? They don't know. If you ask them anything, and they're like, well, male relationships are easier. Yes, because they lack depth. So then when men do like very rash actions or act in very rash ways, it's because they have no one to talk them off that ledge. Whereas girls really lean on one another to talk off that ledge. So you have a society that's not emphasizing like close, tearful, bonding relationships between men. Then you also don't emphasize the first 18 years of their life how to be successful. And then you send them out to a society where you're like, you have to be all these things right now. That's why people are losing their minds. And like, this is not placing blame on anybody. This is just like a societal, like sociological perspective that I've noticed online, where it's like men are like, if men got more women, then these would happen less. But then that puts blame on women. It's not women's fault. And they're like, well, if parents raise their kids better, well, no, it's not on parents, because this is what the society pushes out of norms, that men are owed women because they need wives, but we do not raise our sons in a way that makes them suitable husbands. And then men are not knowing that they're not a suitable husband because their mom has told them that they're a suitable man their entire life, and then they're confused because the alignment of their 18 years does not align with the last 60 years. Like, it's so confusing. I would be confused. I am confused. And if you disagree with this, I'm so sorry. Like, I can just take this down. Maybe this is like, I don't know. I'm so nervous about posting this, but I want to hear your guys' opinions. This comment is very funny to me because I was a political science major for a very long time, and a lot of you guys comment like, why do you keep apologizing about your opinions? Why do you keep apologizing about your opinions? It's because I'm in school now, not for politics. I decided not to do political science anymore. Because of my opinions like the last one. I feel like when I was in a political science major, a lot of my views had to be very bipartisan, and a lot of my views had to be either bipartisan or very party forward, right? And as someone who's like always been like a pretty forward, soulful thinker based off of my own moral compass, it's easy for me to get lost in the sauce, and then that wouldn't win me in elections. And like the whole point of me being a political science major, like I was going to do my MBJD, was because I wanted to make difference, and I wanted to be a political leader, and I wanted to be an advocate. And I found out that if I went through the route of being a politician, I couldn't make the change that was powerful enough for me to make that change. And so it's so funny when I make these like grandiose comments and like make these like overarching statements about my beliefs, and everyone's like, oh my God, get her in Congress, get her in Congress. Like, that's exactly why I would not be in Congress. Because there's sideism. Like, you have to pick a side, you have to pick a party, and you have to show allegiance to that side. And I can't really necessarily do that. There's a side, obviously, I more identify with, right? There's more things that I agree with on certain sides. But with that being said, if I don't agree with all those things, then I'm not going to get elected by that party, because there's funding, there's donations, there's lobbyists, all that stuff, right? And so there's no party where I could be represented by the lobbyists or the people who give that party that money. And that's where that comes into an issue. So while I love speaking political stuff, it's very complicated, because then you have now double doxing that can happen. You have double people who disagree with you that can happen. And it's just a very scary time to be posting like political things and political ideologies online. So I try not to as much as I can, but it's very hard for me because a lot of my life prior to the school I was in now was online advocacy and advocacy in general. And politics. So, I mean, if you guys have any other questions, I can like answer them as, you know, mundane as I can. But I love answering questions about politics online. It's just, you know, very scary to do so.